cure? You ready to fight for breast cancer? You ready to fight for good health care? I give a damn, you give a damn, I give a damn. I give a damn, I give a damn. You give a damn, oh, we give a damn. You didn't know, you give a damn. You didn't know, we give a damn. Oh, you didn't know, we give a damn. You didn't know, we give a damn.
All right. In the building, Washington Digital Media Studios, where we at Win Network produce the I Give a Damn Jam podcast and show. Today, I'm not with my beautiful co-hostess with the mostest, Melissa V. Neal. She could not be here, but sending her a shout out. I am sitting here with this king, this gentleman of wisdom and lots of interesting information we're going to learn. Let them know who you are and what you give a damn about.
First of all, thanks for having me here.
No problem.
I'm Dr. Owolewa. I'm a Ward 8 living Washington, D.C. resident. I'm also serving as the U.S. representative of Washington, D.C. Yeah. What I give a damn about? I give a damn about people having a fair shot. In this role, we fight for D.C. statehood. We're also trying to bring resources back to the marginalized. And that's what I care about.
I like it a lot. I like it a lot. I do this British accent since I was a kid, but really I do. Growing up in 7th Ward, also 4th Ward, I've grown up in different quadrants of the city, but it is always a situation where it's refreshing to know someone that's genuinely giving a damn. So thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, listen, you have a queen that they say this is a man's world. James does, and he said, but it'd be nothing without a woman. Or nothing without a woman or a girl. And there was a queen that told me about you, and we're gonna shout her out. Give her a shout out.
Yeah, my chief of staff, Lice Magucha. She is the heart, she's the brains, and she is everything to this team. You know, they say behind every great man is a great woman, but in DC, behind any successful event is a group of 10 Black women. So you can't really
give them their flowers. Give them their flowers.
Definitely.
Yes, indeed.
Definitely.
So she was outside, and we got the networking because this is Wisdom Inc. Network.
Right.
So I'm not just a host. I am the president. So listen, networking you get work when you network. So she was there. I think about the concert they were having here at Wedge, I think downstairs at Wedge Studios, and she was talking to me about you, and I said, well, look, I am looking to create the Black Wall Street energy. Shout out to all my folks, my sister and cuz few that graduated from Oklahoma. Ever since knowing they were going out there, the Tulsa experience of connecting folks in the Black community was just a pet peeve of mine, just out of necessity to see how much we've overcome to get there. You being in that situation, she spoke about you. I said, please see if the brother can come on it. So on this Sunday, God has blessed me with a good brother that's doing things. And I'm sure your ancestors and families proud.
Absolutely. I mean, after the election, or even just after everything I've done, whether it's this role or even being the ANC commissioner in Ward 8 where I live, it's always been about celebrating what we've done. More importantly, how you do more. You know, one thing that you told me about before is that you did one thing that led to another thing that went to another thing. And a lot of leaders in the city wear multiple hats.
Yeah.
And it's people can see it as a burden, but it's really an opportunity for us to really find ways to make somebody's life just a little bit easier.
And that is what it's about when you give a damn. Mine started, as a challenge to bring awareness to my mom who was suffering. And when you do give a damn, that is one of the key ingredients. You want the person to suffer less. Speaking of which, I want to ask you about what is your most enjoyable aspect of what you do in your role right now that you're blessed with?
The most enjoyable thing is to be your own boss, right? In my current position as the U.S. representative of D.C., without being a state, oftentimes people talk about how we don't have a seat in Congress or how we don't have voting rights. I work on the things I do have. I have a connection to people like you. I have a connection to people who want to do better for the community. And that's what empowers me every day.
Yes.
I don't think about what I don't have. I think about the next thing to do.
Did you hear that?
Because you do one thing, you do another thing, you do another thing. 3-6 months later, you can look back on it and be like, wow, I really got accomplished those things.
Yeah.
And I did it as a team.
Yeah.
That can continue going and continue going and continue going. And it also inspires other people to get involved.
Right.
You'd be surprised by you have a conversation on the train or something.
Yeah.
And you talk to them, you don't even realize that their brothers and sisters is doing something similar or they want to collaborate.
Yeah.
And you get way more done together than would do separately.
Yeah, no man is an island. They always quote,
Yeah.
unless you're cast away. Yes, yes. But yeah, it always my mom was a genealogist, so knowing stories, my godfather was a pastor, being a barber, you just get a lot on the grapevine and through people's stories and testimonies, chance meetings. You tell me about your background. You basically have come from a long ways away, but
Right.
home is home,
Right.
Boston to different places. Talk to me about your origin of how you got to DC.
Absolutely. So first and foremost, my parents were born and raised in Nigeria.
All right.
They came here separately for
Shout out to
education.
Nigeria.
Absolutely, shout out.
Yes.
We just celebrated Independence Day on Saturday.
Okay,
So,
big up. Indeed.
But yeah, so they met in college, decided to settle down in Boston, had 5 children. I was 4 out of 5.
Okay.
So they pushed me from a young age to be in the community. To
what
be
part of
diligent.
Boston?
Grew up in Roxbury.
I was about to say Roxbury. I ain't
Roxbury.
one soon. I was about to say because I've been in
Yes.
Roxbury and
Yes.
I met some of the good
That's
folks.
where we're at. Yeah,
Shout out
so,
to my Uncle Charles up there.
Hey,
the
shout
dad.
out to Uncle Charles.
Dr. Charles Terrell. Yes, indeed. Yes.
So yeah, so I grew
Roxbury.
up in Roxbury, predominantly black neighborhood. Went to so many different schools. I think I was in about 5 schools before I graduated from high school.
Mhm.
Then went to Northeastern University to do my PharmD degree.
Okay.
Doctor of Pharmacy. Where I graduated as the only black male.
Oh my God. First of all, I gotta stop that right there.
Right.
Yo.
2 days after graduation, moved to DC and start from there. And one thing I wanted to do was not just use my degree to make money and go home. I really wanted to find a way to get back to the next. So in the future years, there'll be more than 2 or 3 or 4 black people graduating from that class.
Yes.
So I just got involved in the classroom. I started volunteering in elementary schools. And as like I told you before, one thing led to another, to another, to another. They say you're great as a volunteer, want to become a board member. You're great as a board member, why don't you run for this? Do this and do that. And I've been blessed to be around the right people.
That's right. That is it.
That empowers, that understands that giving somebody a chance doesn't diminish what's going on here. And a lot of people took a chance on me. A lot of people embraced the work that we've done together. And 4, 5, 6 years later, I'm here.
Like that.
Yeah.
Started from the bottom, now we here.
Definitely.
Started, but nah, shout out to Drake. But really, that's so commendable. Respect. Like I said, I meet a lot of folks at the barbershop, cutting so long. The once you graduated, what was that degree in? You got an undergrad.
It's a doctor of pharmacy.
Doctor of pharmacy.
6-year program.
Okay, so you a hustler.
Yeah.
You're on what's they say, a pharmaceutical distributor. Okay. It's a lot of interesting, colorful terms, but you have so many interesting crises that are happening too with drugs, dope. You have the opioid crisis going on. How do they call on you because you're so knowledgeable in what you do, which you got a degree in?
Right.
Do they call? I mean, how are you dealing with that with these youth out here going hard with the pill game?
Well, that's a great question. About 4 years ago, I put out an article with the Washington Post detailing issues, talking about how prescription drug abuse is going to be a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually testified about this in council. And we had a conversation about it. Didn't really go so far.
Okay.
But fast forward 5 years later, it's not that I told you so. It was more of check out what we wrote before because some of the solutions are in there.
Check my paperwork.
Yeah, right. And we're talking about drug disposals in every pharmacy, putting in police station, just finding ways to get these drugs off the street because they weren't coming from the pharmacy. They weren't coming from the darts. They weren't getting stolen from people selling drugs on the street.
Yeah.
They were coming from closets.
Mm-hmm.
If you had a surgery and you were prescribed 20 Percocets, and you took 5 of them, you're not thinking about them no more. Yeah. It's going to be taken by somebody else, most likely.
Exactly.
Whether it's a relative, or somebody who's movers.
Future, Future might take it. It's like I'm
just saying, but that's how it's ending up in these streets.
I'm joking. Shout out to Future.
And then most recently, we're seeing such a fentanyl crisis.
Oh, yeah.
Because fentanyl is so much stronger than the Percocet, whatever, because they're measured in micrograms, not even milligrams, in micrograms. So a small speck could be the difference. So when these things started happening, I had to stop talking and start doing something. Yeah. So in Ward 5 last year, when there was a recent overdose from fentanyl, I went the week after. Okay. With a group called Oxford House that passed out Narcan. We're handing out to elders, we're handing out to young people, those kids on the block. And I just like, do y'all know what Narcan is?
Mm.
All of them knew what it was.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things where it's not that they don't know. They know.
Yeah.
And at first they're like, we didn't want it because we don't do drugs. But I'm like, you may not do drugs, but someone you know might.
Right.
Someone sitting on the ground may need it. And it's something that you can save a life with.
Were they sleeping on the problem? Were they really like not thinking that this was going to be, you know, as serious as it was? I mean, because everybody and their grandkids, it's so many, it's phenomenal. I was there during the crack. I grew up during the crack era, and I got caught up in, you know, being a pharmaceutical distributor.
Right.
But you know, when you find out and you get grown and conscious and find out how much your government is involved with some of this stuff, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling like I'm going with a civil war in my own hood. The boys in blue, the boys in the hood. Now it's a whole different situation with fentanyl. I think they were sleeping on it. Like a lot of times they underestimate what this is really going to do and how many people it's going to affect. So it's been crazy. But you have so much on your plate. What does a day look like in the life of what you do?
Woo, every day is different, but let me try to
Hold up. Where we at, Marley? Okay.
So one of the things that people don't realize, in addition to being the U.S. representative, I'm also still a pharmacist.
Yes.
And not only am I just a pharmacist, I'm also a pharmacist during the pandemic.
Huh? So that's when you got on? That's when you got the won. When did you officially win and become a house?
So I started, my first day in office was January 2nd, 2021.
Okay, so you
were in the middle of it.
You were smack in the middle of it.
So we went from having 40-hour work weeks in the pharmacy to being paid 40 hours, but probably working 50, 60.
Gotcha.
I had to keep up with a lot of emails. I had to keep up with the work of not only being a pharmacist, but also the U.S. representative.
Yeah.
In the past, people in D.C. said, you don't have a representative. I try to make sure that even if there was no vote to be had or no congressional seat in this office, that people of D.C. aren't shortchanged.
Right.
So I try to find ways to make our role better. So I started doing more important things. So first thing we did was bring access to that. Well, we brought vaccine access to DC residents.
Okay.
When there was a shortage here in DC.
Got you.
Because what we saw were folks in affluent neighborhoods not being able to get the vaccine, coming down to areas. Like coming down to areas like Ward 7.
Of course.
Taking up all those shots. So you would have folks who weren't as technically advanced. Had folks who were seniors that were missing out on these opportunities.
Yeah. So
we reached out to the Maryland Department of Health. And when they opened up the Greenbelt station for people in PG to go to, we said, we need DC residents there as well.
Right.
If y'all grabbed our shots on the first line vaccine when nobody else had it, then you owe us something.
Right.
And within 2 weeks, they opened that location up and allowed DC residents to get vaccinated there.
Okay.
Now, the folks, the seniors, they may not be able to get the Greenbelt.
Right.
But now those people, instead of coming to Ward 8, they're going over there.
Right.
We also submitted resolutions to Congress affecting the way, federal legislation has had or certain policies that occur nationally that impacted people's lives.
Right.
And we're not speaking vague. We want to get specific in the nitty-gritty.
Yes.
When Donald Trump had the COVID memo that allowed prisoners to be temporarily released from prison, nonviolent offenders, there was a clause in there that had them return once the pandemic was officially ended.
See.
You see what I'm saying?
See.
So folks who were coming home, taking care of grandma, having a new job, even creating a new family, had that dark cloud.
That like the fine print type joint that you gotta go back after. What the heck?
Why would I work so hard to get past the pandemic if I know once this ends?
Did they also have to take the shot? Was that a requisite that they had to get the shot as well?
I don't believe at the time it was. I'm not sure.
Okay, cool. But it's still to still return is a shot. That's a shot and a half.
I want my family members to get vaccinated. If it means that we get past the pandemic, I had to be put back in. So that was what my team worked on. So we collaborated with a couple of groups of folks who were impacted by incarceration.
Wow.
We put together a resolution and sent to the Department of Justice to say, hey, regardless of the pandemic being over or not, these folks who have been temporarily released, who are doing good in the community and provide for their families, should stay at home.
Really?
Now, people said nobody's going to listen to people in D.C. Nobody's going to care about what incarcerated people say. But within 3 months, the DOJ overturned that memo and allowed folks who were released to stay at home.
Oh, that's dope.
Now, I'm not saying we were the reason why, but to be able to have a piece of that is something I'm proud of. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Like, these things matter
to
people. whether you live in DC or not, but especially folks that live within the four corners of our city, this is something that's tangible. Soon we're going to be working with folks who experience immigration issues, folks trying to bring the grant writers and
That's been popping off
grantees
seriously.
to
I mean,
business owners. We're going to make sure that when people look at this office, they're going to say, these people over here are doing good work.
okay.
And we're also going to work with people like you who are out here doing great in the community.
We want to unite with that because
Absolutely.
it's nothing else in my heart rather that I do. I've seen enough. And it's like, sometimes you want to be in the game, but you have to work your 9 to 5. You have to take care of, like you said, you have dual roles.
Right.
You're a parent, you have other situations going on.
Right.
One of the things aside of the missions that you're doing, you basically, when you saw, like I said, the pandemic was going on,
Mhm.
a lot of the moves that you made since then, and now what state are we in now? What is the pulse that people should know about?
Well, DC's open. I mean, folks did the right thing, whether it's get vaccinated and make that personal decision for themselves, or at least stay safe and try to make sure the folks around them were comfortable and healthy.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's what we did. The community came together during the pandemic. I assisted our council member Tryon White handing out groceries to seniors.
Shout out to Trey.
Who couldn't leave the house.
Yeah.
These little things matter.
Mhm.
You can't just throw money at every issue.
That right.
But the more time you spend, the more you show you give a damn.
That's right.
And it translates.
I love it. It's a lot of folks that want to hold your feet to the fire about every single thing. It's like, you came into the office. Was it like, was it in good shape when you got in there? Was it a lot of folks that aren't seeing what you are now seeing,
Right.
how much it takes to run what you're doing. You have a staff. Were you able to pick your staff? I mean, how was the first week, I guess, with you taking in all this new role that you had? Because it's a pretty big role.
Right. I mean, one thing about my role being the U.S. representative of Washington, D.C., it doesn't come with the training wheels.
Okay.
You don't get here's what you need to know. You don't get the weight of the spotlight all over you like certain other roles have. You kind of have to figure it out. So I would say, I wish I could say every day was good. Some days sucked, but we overcame.
That's right.
We put one foot in front of the other. And there are people that said, your role doesn't matter. But the more you do, they speak a little less.
Okay.
That bass in their voice diminishes a little bit.
Talking to you with a little respect on the name.
And either they go away or they join.
Yeah.
I would prefer to be criticized rather than ignored.
Right.
At least if I'm being criticized, they're paying attention.
That's right.
And as people get bigger and more successful, the hate comes.
Yes.
And you have to just prepare for it.
That's right.
And not be so emotionally invested in what people say.
Well, I mean, you're going to have to take what you're going to have to take in anything that you choose to be deliberate and intentional about. But they say by their fruit you shall know them. So after you were to leave this office, what do you want them to have said about you while you put your fingerprints all over the spot?
That boy worked.
All right.
That boy made the position matter.
Y'all gonna know about this brother right
here.
Young
man didn't count his days. He made his days count.
That's right. See, a lot of folks we hear in this town, we hear a lot of political songs being sung,
right.
But we know the genuine ones. So by their fruit you shall know them. So that's going to take care of that. But we are appreciating the doctor here on the I Give a Damn Jam, and we're going to pay a few bills and we'll be right back. Y'all stay tuned. We got a little bit more. We got to talk about what's up with statehood. All right.
You ready to fight for the cure? You ready to fight for breast cancer? You ready to fight for good health care? I give a damn, you give a damn, I give a damn. I give a damn, I give a damn. You give a damn, oh, we give a damn. You didn't know, you give a damn. You didn't know, we give a damn. Oh, you didn't know, we give a damn. You didn't know, we give a damn. You ready to fight for the cure? You ready to fight for breast cancer? You ready to fight for good health care? I give a damn, you give a damn, I give a damn. I give a damn, I give a damn. You give a damn, oh, we give a damn. You didn't know, we give a damn. You didn't know, we give a damn. Oh, you didn't know, we give a damn. You didn't know, we give a damn.
Back with the doc, and we are discussing so many different interesting things. Thank you again for coming in and dropping some good jewels on the role you're playing in the city and what you are doing and as a pharmacist. This is October. Found out a good fact on the way over here. It's October Pharmacist Month.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, so
yeah.
you know, you representing.
Yeah.
I don't know why they started it, but you know what I'm saying. You know, this is a career that you chose. Where you was there anyone else in your family that was doing that?
Well, my younger brother is now a pharmacist, but really got me into thinking about this profession was to see my parents. You know, they're on some medications here and there, and the impact of having that kind of information that you can provide for your parents.
Yeah.
You know, my mom and dad, they both take separate types of medication. My mom's side has a lot of diabetes. My dad's side has a lot of heart disease, a lot of blood pressure, things like that. And I know what happens when someone goes to their doctor and they say, "Are you taking all your medications?" And they say, "Yes, I am." Or this is what you need to know: 35 facts you're never gonna remember.
Right.
So just have someone in the family who's empowered to make, you know, give you that information can save a life.
Yes, it is.
I had a friend's whose sister went to the hospital because she had sickle cell.
Okay.
And they were doing a blood transfusion, and she had an allergic reaction. She was shivering. Thought she was cold.
See.
You know, having that perspective. I mean, I forgot to tell you, she actually passed away after this incident.
See.
And it really brought to the focus of not only do I need to be in the industry, we need more people that look like us in the industry. We need more women that are in the industry, because if you can identify with that person, you may not dismiss what they're experiencing.
Exactly. You're going to look a little deeper beyond the surface, because you give a damn a little bit more.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, that is what is going
on. When you see faces just discounting our experience, there are dire consequences to it. When you see folks saying, "You know what, I can just explain this away." Or if you have men that try to explain female experiences, or white folks that try to explain black experiences, it's never to our benefit. And having more of us in those seats, having more of us at those tables, makes a difference. Because if you're not at the table, you're on the menu.
Speaking it, dropping jewels on them. Here, that's what we're doing here. I give a damn, Jamie. You obviously can tell he gives a damn. No, where we are in 2022. Like I said, it's different moves to be made. It's a lot about DC statehood that a lot of folks who are here don't even understand or know why, what the relevance would be. I want you to drop jewels on that. Give break it down like it was a 3-year-old. What's up with statehood?
Thank you so much for asking that question.
Okay.
Quite frankly, DC statehood is the biggest issue that nobody's talking about.
Talk to them.
You know, especially, you know, from my perspective as someone who wasn't born in DC but moved to DC. I love the culture.
Hey,
but I didn't want to lose my rights.
Right.
So in DC, because we're not a state, we don't control our budget. We don't control our criminal justice system. We don't have a vote in Congress, right? But we pay our taxes. That pays for things we don't even have control over. You know, our students are at a detriment. We don't have much oversight over our federal parks because we're not a state. We don't control our National Guard, which nobody cared about. Until some crazy white folks stormed the Capitol and were powerless. What? About it.
No, they didn't. Are you talking about the Capitol?
Yeah, the one Republicans are afraid to talk about.
Oh, no, you didn't.
Every single thing.
Oh, my gosh. Go ahead with your bad stuff.
Every single thing in D.C. is impacted by our situation. It's not just the demonized white folks. The white folks that live in D.C. are just as disempowered as the black folks living in D.C.
Yeah.
So every issue, whether it's meddling into our affairs. I mean, if the Republicans take control over Congress, they can do away with our reproductive rights, closing down abortion clinics. So every single thing matters.
Talk to
DC statehood is life and death issue.
Now you know. Now you're hearing it here first. See, these are the type of things that I was asking some of my buddies. I was asking different people. I say, well, "What do you?" And it was like a little fogginess about it. So I mean, clear it up. Let them know what they're getting, what they're dealing with as a day-to-day resident here. Medical attention. For folks usually is a challenge, because most of the folks that I've grown up with are living almost close to the poverty line or below the poverty line.
Absolutely.
So it's like when Mayor Barry, who always is like in the Hall of Fame of mayors, he was famous for talking about, if it's snowing, you're gonna shovel out your own driveway before you get out of there.
Right.
So it was like he warmed the heart of most Washingtonians because Washington, felt like he really gave a damn. Absolutely. And not just any other mayors. I think all the mayors have contributed in their own way, but I think we just found a certain bond with him because it just seemed like he was a person of the people. He's a people's person.
Yeah, and to follow up on that, regardless of his personal issues or how friendly he was, he came with tangibles. Mm-hmm. He gave people who experienced incarceration jobs. Right?
Talk about it.
People may not show up to a speech and all, but they'll know that if you gave their brother a job, they gave their sister an opportunity. If you give young people opportunities to lead, there's fruits of his tree, of lineage.
Generations will talk about it.
I'm talking about politically. Yeah. There's people who are here because of him. And his work with SNCC and what he did for the culture. I mean, at the end of the day, folks on the outside can talk about his issues with this or that, or maybe a drug issue. But when you provide people other things, like opportunity to own their homes, they'll look past other stuff. Yeah.
He God used him in a very good, interesting way. You see the good, bad, and ugly of a life, but he really cared. And I was a beneficiary of summer youth job programs. So a lot of folks would be like, I don't really deal with politics. I don't religion, or they got traumas. Everybody got traumas of hearing the good song and it not being genuine. So it's refreshing to hear that perspective about statehood. Also, what are some other benefits that you would want folks to know about DC statehood?
Right. And one thing I wanted to stress about DC state is not just a DC problem. Mm-hmm. Not having us at the table impacts climate justice. It impacts.
You said what?
System.
You said
climate justice.
Climate justice. Yes. Talk to me a little bit about climate justice. Absolutely. That sounds interesting.
Right now, we have fossil fuel industries that are literally paying elected officials to vote in their way. When Republicans talk about capitalism, letting the best person win, they don't obviously believe that when the wealthiest corporations are paying them to vote a certain way. Whereas the rest of us have to try to find the right thing in bills and whatnot. And most people are not reading through bills to see the fine print.
Of course, no.
Most people aren't going to watch C-SPAN or go to the congressional hearing. They trust us to do the right thing.
You can hit the street and ask somebody to look at a bill, and it might have you're going to be returning to being 3/5 human if you do not sign this by this date.
Right.
You better put it on Instagram, TikTok, something else like that. You better put it in something.
There's videos online detailing each hearing. Nobody's there.
Nobody.
How many people do you know go to city council meetings?
Crickets.
Right.
Crickets.
And I'm not saying that they have to, but at the end of the day, we need to make a level playing field for what's right is right.
You can't complain if you're not in the game.
You can't let the wealthiest organizations continue to win. We can't keep that happening.
No.
We can't have
not over here. We're not interested in doing that.
Paying, buying stocks in organizations and companies that they have power over. Because if I had shares in a company and I know this ruling's coming down the way, and I could essentially block it, why would you not? I'm not saying congressional people are evil, but at the end of the day, if there's opportunities to kind of skirt the
call a spade a spade.
Seems like we have to make it harder to do the wrong thing.
That's what I'm saying.
The right thing.
And the thing is, people perish for lack of knowledge. Absolutely. So how could we get this to where if they're seeing so much information come through, but they're just like totally missing it? It's a lot of times because we're distracted by just doing your best to survive.
Sure.
Like, you hopping off the bus from a job search.
Right.
I know what that feels like.
Sure.
You're walking through the same neighborhood where you like, dang, Slim, if you rob me, you just practicing.
Right.
I don't even have, it's so many different things that it's distracting you in some of your hardest areas you're coming up in.
Right.
You're not thinking about what's going on at the congressional, Black Caucus or the congressional meetings because you're dealing with nothing in the food. You don't have any food. The stamps is up. It's so many different things and challenges of survival in these areas, and all these things are going on. They're just writing bills and passing people, so we have to get it in a way where we can edutain them enough. That's why I chose edutainment as my path. So, sometimes it has to be bright, be brief, be gone. Like you said, them bullet points. But we have to get that down to the areas where the most distracted can know what was going on right underneath their nose.
Right. And one thing I learned, especially volunteering in elementary schools, I've been doing it for the past 8 years. Is that the best way to get a young person's mind is by tricking them into learning. They love seeing things pop, love seeing things explode, change colors. And one thing I realized as I transitioned into this role is that people don't grow out of that.
Nope.
If you can't engage them quickly, you're going to lose them. So when it comes to DC statehood, I believe as a city, as a group of people, we are tired of the boring congressional hearings. We are tired of the long-winded speeches.
Spice it up.
We are tired of the seminars. So in this office, we find really engaging and fun ways to just introduce things to people.
I like it.
So maybe the traditionalists say, that's not all the information. But for someone who only has 30 seconds to figure out what's going on, you got to give them that 30 seconds.
And be bright, be brief, be gone. Be bright, be brief, be gone. Because the generation is they're trying to reach is this short attention span generation. Right. It's just like click, click, click. They, and the thing is, the information still has to get there. So we as the bridge we'll do our part. Right. We're signing up over here. I Give a Damn Jam, and partnering up with this good king with his mission. You know what I'm saying? We don't know. We're only here for a season and for a reason. Absolutely. But for whatever reason that the creator brought us together, let's make some win-wins happen. Solution-oriented thinking. Absolutely. Because our people perish for lack of knowledge. So we don't want to give them any excuses for not getting the knowledge. Absolutely. This brother right here has his podcast as well, the Tom O Show. Mr. Marley Moss, he's quite the filmmaker, and he is always assisting so many of us to get our podcast done. He does like about 6 podcasts of his own with his own team, and they have doctors on the show. They have everything that they're doing to reach out to community. So he helps a lot of folks, and we're going to be definitely working together because absolutely. As far as anything videography wise, we make sure we take care of that. So the Black Wall Street situation is like manifesting. We get more together done than separately. Yes, indeed, we do. More. And so, with that being said, is there because you faced your opposition with it? Why is there so much opposition against it? People still want to be able to get over on DC, or what do you? It depends who you ask. So if you ask a Republican, they're afraid of Democrats in office. Rather than saying let's convince them with a better method or a better message, they'd rather just suppress the vote. Okay, we see it all across the country. And also, there's some people in DC who have genuine concerns about statehood. They're worried about the cost of it. They're worried about, if I'm a student, do I lose my tag benefits, which is an assistance program where you can go to other states and get that in-state tuition. So there is a meaningful conversation to be had. Exactly. And you can't discount somebody's opinion for having an opinion. There's some people that don't want a 51st star on the flag. It sounds silly, but we have to. These are the things. Conversations. There's people who are concerned if DC will still be the capital if we're a state. So these are conversations we need to have. But we also have to look at the bigger picture. Like, what do you care about? If somebody cares about incarceration, let them know that DC residents are being shipped all across this country because we don't have a DC prison. And when they leave prison, they're given a couple of bucks. They don't have an opportunity to really connect back to the community. So oftentimes they're there, they do things to get them back in jail because that's what they know, and we're not able to really bring our people back. So when you have a weight of this versus that, sometimes people can say, you know what, it's worth keeping DC together if it means having an extra star on the flag. And these are conversations we can have. And why are they having these conversations? I mean, shout out to Queen Eleanor Holmes Norton. She seemed like she's been on the battlefield forever about it. And it's folks, they feel like like when they were saying, man, shoot, it'll never be a black president, and then it basically happens. But it's a lot of people that's like, it'll never be a state. DC will never be a state. But you never say never. So how close do you think? How could you, if you could guesstimate? Do you see it years? Do you see it soon? I mean, it could happen any day. What's the time frame you think on it? Under Congresswoman Norton's leadership, who inspired me to be in this seat, quite frankly. Shout out to the Queen. Out. We passed the House twice, the DC statehood bill, and we had the most co-sponsors in the Senate. 46.
So we're getting there.
Got you.
We also have a president who supports DC statehood and Joe Biden.
Okay.
So we're as close as we've ever been before, but we're not there yet. In my opinion, I think we got to work on things like the filibuster, which is something that most people don't even know about.
Break it down. Give edutain folks what filibuster is.
Basically, the filibuster is a way for not getting nothing done.
Okay.
It says to get more bipartisan support, and what the filibuster is, it's just them, the opposing side, being able to stop legislation from happening.
Uh-huh.
But the only way you can overcome the filibuster is if you have 60 votes in the Senate, which is 10 more than what we have right now. Democrats.
Break that down. I'm almost getting it.
So we need 60% of the Senate to vote yes on something to avoid the filibuster. But the way the Democrats and the Republicans are fighting right now, that's never really happening, especially on consequential legislation. So they gotta find ways around it, do this, do that, do that. But right now, in the past, we expected just a majority of Congress to support it, but other people, especially within the Democratic Party, want the filibuster. So we essentially need more support within the Senate. In my office, what we're tasking with is getting the people in those states to activate with this issue, because people listen to their own constituents.
Okay.
I can talk to Joe Manchin from West Virginia until the cows come home. But when I went to West Virginia last year, he paid attention to that. I was paying attention. Because when you're knocking on doors for people who look like you, most of them that don't look like you,
right?
Folks are like, wait a minute, this guy is thinking differently.
Yeah.
Because in DC, we're not afraid. We pull up.
Yeah, exactly.
Pull up.
Pull up.
We live in Southeast DC. We pull up.
Right.
I don't need to go to Congress. I can go to your backyard.
Right.
And talk to the people that vote for you.
Yeah. On
how their lives would be better if you had DC sick enough for them.
See, that's the outside the box. There's no box.
Right.
Is that a calling in your background to be, I guess, positively aggressive like that?
In my experience, that's the way you get things done.
Yes. I think they elected the right dude. Yes.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You can always, use your Twitter fingers and write in a newspaper. But when you're talking to people and look them in the face,
effective.
And you let them know that we don't look alike, we're not even vote alike. This is what you can expect from us. You keep coming back. The first time they'll throw rocks at you. Second time, they say don't come in. Third time, all right. If it takes for me to get rid of you, come in for 5 minutes. And that's when you have those conversations, when you realize folks are more similar than different.
That's right.
And you don't just say it, you prove it to them. In lower West Virginia, they had a water crisis. The pipes were being remade, and it was a bad situation. And Acacia also had water issues. So regardless of your skin color, water is water.
Yeah, right.
Internet is internet.
Yes.
Nowadays, if your internet ain't up to scale, you're in a disadvantage. And that's what they experience in West Virginia. That's what they experience places in my neighborhood. So I brought my story to them, and they're like, we relate to that.
Right.
You're not different than us. You're not what they say you are on TV. I don't know if that's a DC thing. I don't know if it's a black thing.
Right.
I don't know if it's a young person thing.
A crab in a barrel thing? Or?
But once you realize that we're not really each other's enemies, then things can happen.
Exactly. If you are not being an enemy to yourself, I believe you have something in you, just like when a TV gets reception.
Absolutely.
You are, you have to work on that inner person depending on what you're attracted. So every person has to have knowledge of self.
Absolutely.
And without this good knowledge, our people are perishing. So I am thankful that you're on the crusade. I think the ancestors are appreciating that these two kings got together and chopped it up.
Absolutely.
Listen, I Give a Damn Jam it was built for this. My mom was a creative giver, creative activist, and I am a chunk off the tree. Chunk off the block. And I think that's the same thing for you. Whatever it is that we can do, we're going to discuss more about it. We definitely will want you to come back. And we definitely will be reporting, because we are our own news station, our own edutainment news station. And we cover different events of constructive lives that are doing things for the culture, especially if folks of ebony hue. We're a little biased. Don't hate us, because we love our melanin. But we do. But we're, equal opportunity. We, if we're on this, we take things case by case basis, and we put our support behind those who are showing love and structure and some organizations. We all wanting a better life for our families and our communities. So
Absolutely.
thank you for joining us. We usually sometimes have it live, so sometimes people are asking questions, but I'm going to ask the queen and king over here. Do y'all have any questions for this gentleman while we're right here?
And y'all covered everything.
I appreciate that.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
Almost everything. There's one event that I definitely want to invite
Talk
you to.
Talk to us about it.
In early November, November 6th, Sunday from 11 to 1, we're actually having our second annual supercar rally for DC Statehood. Like I was saying before, the edutainment
Mhm.
and tricking people into learning,
Seducing them to think.
I like that.
You can use it.
I'm gonna take
You
that.
can work it.
I'm gonna
You
take
can, hey,
that.
listen, man, we sharing. We sharing.
Still if I tell them, right?
Yeah.
So seducing them into learning. We're bringing out
Seduce them to think.
51 supercars. We're talking about Lambos, Porsches. We even have a Rolls Royce out there. We're gonna be driving around the Capitol.
That sounds dope.
Really
That
showing
sounds dope.
people about DC Statehood. So we're attracting people to look at cars.
That's right.
But leave with nuggets about DC
There you
Statehood.
go. That's edutainment, my brother.
I need y'all to be there.
Hey,
I need y'all to cover it.
Say no mas. You just let us know the date, and we're there
Yes, sir, we'll give
with
that
our
the
lunch,
date.
with our lunch and our hard hats, and we're gonna be
Absolutely.
ready to work and enjoy some edutainment.
Absolutely.
Ebony excellence, black coal to a black diamond. Call me moonlight at night, still shining. King swag. We'll talk about it a little later. But y'all tune in to the I Give a Damn Jam, because this is what we do. We bring edutainment. We are creating the Black Wall Street in our own way, but we really appreciate everyone of whatever color you are. If you're doing something that's really constructive for the culture and your family and tribe, salute. You know what I mean? Because giving a damn, it reverberates. It's contagious, and we need more of that out there. It's a lot of folks that's suffering. So thank you, brother. Come back again. You're a now family tribe member.
Yes, sir.
Officially bring him in as the I Give a Damn Jam House of Representatives doing this thing. So we with you. We with you. So y'all tune in every Thursday, 7:00 on YouTube, Wisdom Inc. Network. I Give a Damn Jam. Thank you for coming in, brother. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be back.
All right.
You ready to fight for the cure?